Good afternoon, everyone. We're now starting to broadcast the United States Territorial Virtual Peer Exchange. As soon as everyone is logged in, we will start at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Romali.
Yes,
Hi, like one of our users, like, can we use our login like twice? Only because some didn't get their confirmation. So is
uh, it will it will appear with the same name
that's
on
fine.
various, yeah, but if you send me who hasn't received the access, I can
Mm-hmm.
send them the information.
Okay, we can do that
Okay.
maybe for tomorrow. Right now, we're just gonna use Stacy's account, Stacy, to log into your different devices.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Good afternoon to everyone. We will be starting in just 6 minutes.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Christopher. Good afternoon, everyone. We will start in just a second. We're heading for the last presenter that will be entering in just a second. But would like to start with some housekeeping details. At this point, we have 28 participants, so welcome to everyone to the GoToWebinar uh, platform from the Puerto Rico LTAP Center. We will start um, by announcing that this seminar is being recorded. It's just for the record at the Puerto Rico LTAP Center. Also, if anyone wants a copy of all the details that we will be discussing today, we can give you access to those. Everything will be recorded. The chat, information you write, any intervention, voice intervention, if you unmute yourself, or any image if your camera is on. And we will have access to a section in the menu right where you can write any question or ask anything through the chat or to everyone or a specific person. Also, everyone is currently on mute, so you will be able to unmute and mute yourself for the discussion time. The only thing we ask is that you unmute yourself when you speak and then you put yourself again on mute so we don't create a feedback on anything. Okay, let me check. Agenda is presented. We will have as moderator Ken Alden. I will let Ken enter. Ken, you can unmute yourself so you can speak. Okay. Ken, is everyone hearing me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Great. Okay, great. We're all connected. We will wait for a second for Ken. Um, we have, we have 30 participants today. So let me see. Great. Lauren or Ken? Okay, I think you're unmuted, Ken.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Great. We can hear
Okay,
you now.
great. We had a little technical glitch there. I'm glad that we worked that out. A warm welcome and hafade, aloha, talofa, hola
Aloha.
to the participants of the 2020 Federal Highway Administration U.S. Territorial Peer Exchange. This is day one, and we have an exciting lineup for you wonderful folks. By way of introduction, I am Ken Auden, and I will be the moderator for today's discussion, Day-to-Day Operations with COVID-19. Territorial presentations will begin with American Samoa, followed by CNMI, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, all in that order. Please do take note that each presenter is allotted no more than 12 minutes. As a penalty, a budget redistribution may likely be in effect. Just kidding. A big thank you to the USTPE committee, Ms. Bude Borres, Everett Matias, Medalia Carrion Allures, Lauren Sanchez, and Franco Ramirez. I'm sorry, Molly Franco Ramirez. You wonderful ladies are in our hearts for bringing us together. And once again, we thank you. And now for the keynote speaker, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Colucci Rios, a very special guest from Puerto Rico, a professor of civil engineering and director of the Puerto Rico Local Technical Assistance Program and FHWA Everyday Counts initiatives at the University of Puerto Rico, and 2019 Wilbur S. Smith Distinguished Transportation Educator from IT&E, Fellow by the ASCE Board of Direction. Today, he will be sharing with us his expert opinions in the fields of transportation. With that, I ask that you give your full attention to Dr. Colucci Rios. Dr. Colucci Rios.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all our great family of the United States Territorial, both in the Atlantic and the Pacific. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you a little bit about Puerto Rico and a little bit about transportation. Irmali, if you are so kind to show the first slide, please. Then I hope I pronounce correctly. Of course, hello, hola, hola, buenas tardes, talofa, hafadai, and aloha, everyone. That's supposed to be me like 20 years ago, I guess, in Mali, and that's what I am right now. Therefore, you can compare. This is what happens when you get most wisdom in your life. That might happen. But I'm happy and grateful to be part of this extended family as part of USTPE. In this slide, you can see the logo of the Puerto Rico Local Tribal and Technical Assistance Program. And that's, as you can see, that's our beautiful island. That's our paradise, Puerto Rico. It's an island 100 miles east-west by 35 miles north-south. We're 3,500 square miles with a population of roughly 3 million inhabitants. On our left, we have our logo that unites all of us as part of this family of territories ascribed to the United States of America. Next one, please, Imali. The Puerto Rico Transportation Technology Transfer Center is part of the University of Puerto Rico, and within the 11 campuses, we are located at the Mayagüez campus that is on the west side of the island, and we are ascribed to the Civil Engineering and Surveying Department. Puerto Rico is an accredited program by the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology. Our current chancellor, Engineer Ruyan, he's an industrial engineer, and the Dean of Engineering, Bienvenido Vélez, he's an electrical and computer engineering. And I'm at the Civil Engineering Department in the Transportation Engineering area. The department chair is Ismael Pagana. He's an expert in coastal resilience and extreme events. Next one in Mali. At the LTAP Center, Well, we are very excited because we're going to celebrate our 35th anniversary since we started in 1986. I'm blessed to be a founder with Felipe Luyanda, who's another friend, and Sergio Gonzalez, a former Secretary of Transportation, and Felipe Luyanda is a former Executive Director of the Transportation Integrated Alternative. And Puerto Rico was one of the first eight centers as part of what initially used to be called the Rural Technical Assistance Program, RTAP. And we have been changing from RTAP to being Local Technical Assistance Program, LTAP. But essentially, we provide technical assistance in the different areas of planning, design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the built infrastructure. And within the last 20 years, we have been giving priority to safety, everything in safety, both serving the Puerto Rico and for close to 30 years, 31 years, we used to be served U.S. Virgin Islands on a full-time basis. We still have close relationship with the Virgin Islands of our friends on everyday counts initiatives. And we receive funds from the Puerto Rico Department of Transportation and Public Works from the Asian PNR program. And in addition to our traditional seminar program, we do the area of everyday counts initiatives and innovation along those lines. Next one, Irmali. We're within the Office of Innovative Program Delivery of the Federal Highway Administration. Our objective is similar to all the other current 52 centers in the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, that essentially we provide technical assistance. In our case, our municipalities in the United States are called counties, and all local transportation agencies on current and emerging technology in the different areas that we mentioned, that we include pavements, bridges, and within transportation, pavement maintenance, the different rehabilitation strategies, and emerging technologies, including in the area of safety, road safety audits, anything associated with roundabouts, and all those areas associated with everyday counts initiatives. We include also traffic operations. We also give courses associated with ethics in engineering and transportation, and even how to write technical reports in English and in Spanish. We give seminars in Puerto Rico in Spanish. We normally have a PowerPoint presentation or equivalent in English, but the presentation is given to our participants in Spanish because that is our primary language. In the Virgin Islands, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we give the presentation in English. We have conducted over 3,500, 3,000, almost 3,600 seminars, webinars, conversatories through these close to 35 years of experience. And we have been ambassador representing the United States and the Office of International Programs in different areas in Central America, South America, and here we are blessed with you in the part of the USTPE. And we hired I want to be proud to mention that we hired the best and brightest instructors that we have in the Caribbean and the US to come to Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands to give the latest technology in this area. And emphasis is definitely safety, infrastructure management, workforce development, and organizational excellence. But emphasis is in safety and infrastructure management, and both the current build infrastructure and alternative new designs, and addressing more and more mobility as a service. Next one, in Mali. In that particular photo, we were showing the first slide was the latest seminar that we gave this week webinar on STEP, State Transportation for Every Pedestrian. And the other photographs were showing you how we analyze the built infrastructure. We used to have an ARAN, automated road analyzer, to as part of our payment management system to do the data collection, data inventory, and also to establish priorities for our existing payment network, and using roughness measurements of our main variable for determining performance. We are, as all of us, we are part of the United States, and our Secretary of Transportation is Elaine Shaw. And in Puerto Rico, our Secretary is Engineer Carlos Contreras. Carlos Contreras is also my former student close to 30 years ago. He's an expert in the area of freeway operations, macroscopic simulation, and traffic operations and safety. He's also a PTOE, a professional traffic operation engineer. He was also recognized as in 2014 as the Transportation Engineer of the Year in Puerto Rico. He's legally blind, but he still remembers when he was a student. He still remembers the infrastructure. He's legally blind for the last 10 years, but he remembers everything. And I'm proud to have been his mentor 30 years ago. Next one, please. That particular slide to show you that we are, of course, part of the funds from Federal Highway Administration that we receive from Washington, D.C., and also from Puerto Rico Division. And next one in Mali. And within the Federal Highway, we are associated with the, the administrator is Nicole Nason, and the breakdown of the organizational chart includes the Office of Innovative Program Delivery, which Tony First was the director. He's stepping out. He was supposed to step out late 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure if still he's around, but Tony is my buddy, and he my opinion, did a pretty good job in there. And within that office of the OIPD, then we have 4 offices. That is the Center for Transportation Workforce Development, the CTWD. That is where the Eisenhower Transportation Fellowship Program we administer in Puerto Rico as being a Hispanic serving institution. And most of the projects that our students are involved are in the area of safety, mobility as a service, payment evaluation and management and bridge management. But they're working a lot of the projects in the area of innovation, and scooters is coming now also as a mobility as a service as one of the areas that we're evaluating. The Center for Local and Support Class is that where our LTAP center, that in Puerto Rico we call him El Centro, like the center or technology transfer T². And that's where Imali is the one that, as you know, Imali Franco runs the show, as well as with Grisel Villarrubia for the last 20 years. Thanks to them, I can be up to date and giving all these presentations with all my extended family in the transportation area. And the Center for Accelerating Innovation is a STIC. We also have a STIC in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico is one of the stakeholders. And Everyday Counts, we have been since 2011. To summarize my presentation, Irmali, next one. This is a summary of the details of those 4 offices that we have projects that we have mentioned: Eisenhower, EDC, STIC, and the LTAP. Next one, please. And all of us, we are an extended family. There's 2 additional programs that we run. We have been the spokesperson. Our office has been the running the show of the Decade of Action for Road Safety these first 10 years. This is an initiative from the United Nations and the World Health Organization that in many countries, those initial 100 countries, they didn't get what they were expecting instead of the reduction in fatalities. But in Puerto Rico, we got almost more than 50% reduction in fatalities and serious injuries since we have been involved in the last 15 years. And in the last 10 years, we got almost 30 or 40% reduction in fatalities. In the Eisenhower program, we have been since 1994. We have had close to 150 graduates, and many of them have finished their master's and PhD and are working with Federal Highway, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, and many other agencies in the United States and abroad. And Avertis is a multi-sectoral agreement that we have with the Avertis. Is a company that promotes public and private partnership. Their headquarters are in Barcelona, Spain, and I am the Avertis, like it's called International Network in Puerto Rico. They have 5 locations. They have Chile, Brazil, Spain, France, and Puerto Rico. And that's where we promote public-private partnership in the areas of maintenance and freeway operations. And in Mali, I guess with that, it summarizes what else. Essentially, we are in an area that we have to do innovation. COVID-19 is making us to have a new era on how we're going to deal with transportation challenges that we're going to have. We together, we can make the difference in the Atlantic or the Pacific, doing the best we can with the resources and we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we need to get to work together, and we have to work in a culture of innovation, primarily in the area of safety. We know that most of our infrastructure in terms of vehicles and public transportation, they have to be rethinking how to work that out. But the current infrastructure in the construction industry still is very strong in Puerto Rico in pavement rehabilitation, which you do social distances and keeping all the guidelines that have been recommended. In Puerto Rico, we have El Puente. El Puente means the bridge. Therefore, we believe in bridging the research to practice. And since we started in 1986, that was our vision. And we have changed the cover page, but we have motivated on the different areas of transportation. And now we're considering also extreme events, like last one that shows Hurricane Maria, and how we come together and reinvent ourselves to improve the quality of life of our present and future professionals. Irmali, I believe if that's not next to the last, please. We need to do COVID-19, and I hope we have in these couple of days that take that into account. That's our website, and if you enter, we have different cover pages, which shows information for Transportation Association to COVID-19. Next one in Mali, that's our www.PR, stands for Puerto Rico, LTAP.org. And we are part of a big network in the United States called NLTAP, a National Local Technical Assistance Program, and TTAP, Tribal Technical Assistance Program. If you go to their website, www.nltapa.org, and you go and write Puerto Rico or any of the 50 states and territories that they are member of NLTAPA, you can find their website and information of the resources that they provide. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really, really excited to see what you have. Irmali showed that on that slide, showing that we have been virtual in March, and that was the logo also on the left-hand side. That's my staff. That on the left, that's online training. We have been doing online training since the 13th of March. And I have to acknowledge Irmali. Everyone mentioned the name Irmali. She's the one next to me on the right, and Griselda is also assisting. She's the lower one on the right, and in the middle, that's Irmali. Hey, Irmali, thank you for everything. Gracias. And Ciara is the other one. You have the emails of everyone, and you can find us on Facebook as well. And thanks again for the opportunity, and I will be paying attention to everything that every territory has to mention today and tomorrow. Have a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening, or a wonderful morning. Bye-bye, and thanks again. Mali, the last one, show our great college. Next one. We wish you a successful 2020 U.S. Territorial Virtual Peer Exchange. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Again. Thank you again, Dr. Colucci Rios, for your well-informed presentation, and we hope to have you back again in the future USTPE presentations and hopefully in person. Thank you once more.
And I hope we can meet in Puerto Rico as well.
Likewise, I look forward to it.
A big hug, my friend. Big virtual hug.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Continue with the show.
I'm sorry. And Molly, we will now begin with the presentations. American Samoa, if you are now ready, you may go ahead and begin with the presentations.
Ken, I'm not sure if Mr. Everett Matias would like to give any comment or would like to speak. Welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
We're not hearing you, Everett.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll just keep it short. I don't want to take up any more time. Let me just say welcome to everyone. Thank you for attending today as well as tomorrow if you signed up, as well as Thursday. Let me just say also thank you to Puerto Rico LTAP, Dr. Colucci, Amali. We wouldn't be able to put this together without you. Your resources and your efforts are well appreciated. With that, I'll just turn it back over to Ken, and hopefully everyone enjoys the next 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Everett.
Thank you again, Mr. Matias. And We will now go ahead and begin with the presentations, Molly.
Okay.
If you're now ready, you may go ahead and begin.
American Samoa, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, let's start here. Okay, great. The presenter for American Samoa, can unmute yourself?
We just did. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. You want to add your camera during the presentation?
Working on it.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
One moment, real quick.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, we got you.
Okay, share webcam. I think you can see us. Can you see us now? Yeah. This is
Yes, we
American
can.
Samoa.
Yes, we can.
Talofa, this is Fadelcina Voigt, the Director of Public Works. And as you all see, we can go around the table real quick and introduce ourselves, starting with, go ahead.
Aloha, my name is Tolova, and I'm a project inspector.
Aloha, my name is Jarvis Sama. I'm a lab technician. Aloha, Jarvis Apa, lab technician.
Good morning, Tanya Mao, Office Manager.
Aloha, Mahimoto Mata, lab manager. Aloha, Kaleopa, project inspector.
Aloha, Rosetta, level grant analyst.
Oh, Estela Rubin, civil engineer.
Doris Cipelli, Civil Engineer.
Aloha, Tanwata, Public Works, project manager.
Aloha, Naokiona Sahama, senior administrator.
Hi, Tisa, Senior Admin. Talofa Patsuiva Verde, Senior Admin. And I believe we have two, sorry. Go ahead.
Malo Ino, I'm a project inspector.
Oloaka Salepa, project manager.
And we have two that are that stranded off island. I don't know if they've called in. Ruben Siatu, he is our manager for the Civil Highway Division. And Jing Devna, all the way from the Philippines. Tanya Mao is actually the acting manager right now. And we're glad to declare that American Samoa is still COVID-19 free. However, we're still doing prevention or social distancing or wearing our masks when we come to work or doing gatherings like this. I think the first impact that I may want to add that we've all felt was the suspension of all government travels, plus this virtual gathering. So we're very fortunate for this opportunity because the last time we had our peer exchange, I think 50% of the office was able to attend. And for now, for the next 3 days, we have everyone that will be able to attend. And then without further ado, I'll hand the time over to Tanya for our presentation.
Okay. All right, so our presentation, COVID-19 impact. As our director had mentioned, we are zero at this point. And through discussions with director, we haven't really felt the impact as everybody else has within the territories. So without further ado, Armali, can you go to the second slide, please? Okay, operations impact, construction operations. Under that, we would have the project acceleration, employee safety, contract administration, and technology, and how it's impacted our construction operations. Also, our office operations, what have we done as a department, as a team, to keep our operations flowing during the COVID-19. Second slide, please. For project acceleration, all construction activities are continued as scheduled with adherence to social distancing rules and guidelines. Again, we are at zero COVID cases, 0 cases, and that has allowed us to continue our operations. We have not been impacted with, so far. And right now, let me just go back a little. When we were hit in March, when it first came out, the borders were all closed. Air travel, school, business operations were limited. Religious and mass gatherings were also void. Government operations were also limited to 50% staffing. The only people that were in the office at 100% working levels was essential workers and first responders at full time. With that, the government had created a COVID response force task, and with that, they created a color-coded system to meet threat levels for the COVID-19, starting with blue at a minimal level, yellow in case we get 1 case of COVID, and red, which is total shutdown of all operations. Right now, we are in blue due to our 0 cases. So with that said, with the project acceleration, work hours and staffing as of April to the end of June were at 50%, meaning that 50% were working from home and the other 50% would be in office. Our age 60 years plus were required to work from home. Only essential employees were in the office at the time. Next slide, please. Employee safety. We did stress workers' social distancing. As of July 1st, the American Samoa government workforce is at 100% staffing at full-time hours at the workplace. We are still practicing personal hygiene and use of protective gear for visitors that come to the office, and also when staff is out on site, and for all employees within public works. We also utilize virtual video conference calls, and we practice cleaning and disinfecting common areas, and we encourage sick employees to take their sick leave and stay home. Next slide, please. Okay, contract administration. Again, we have not felt the total impact of COVID, but what has happened for contract and administration, we've only seen time extension considerations, case-by-case basis. We did get supply chain disruptions due to maritime shipping, weather conditions, no issues with payment, and we conduct our labor interviews. Next slide. Technology. We have been able to utilize technology at this point as ever, more than ever. Now we are using our laptops for on-call workers. We have iPads that are available as well for inspectors. We utilize our virtual meetings through Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and also still functioning with the emails and Dropbox for sharing of files. And if you go to the next slide, I've included our current declaration for the American Samoa government by our governor, and what it covers. This declaration will cover transportation, workforce, operations, health preparedness, business operations, and social distancing. And then the further slides after that, I think there's about 6. That's just the whole declaration in full for your view. Thank you.
Thank you again, American. And Molly, the CNMI is up for presentation.
Yes, let me pass the other presentation for a second.
Okay.
CNMI.
And so just a slight change for the CNMI. The presenter was supposedly Secretary Elaine Chao. Unfortunately, she was a little detained. And so I guess I'll be going ahead with this presentation. So please bear with me. Okay, go ahead and next slide, Molly. Okay, so just a little background of the CNMI. We are located midway towards Japan and Australia. In the 15th of March, the governor issued a directive for an immediate quarantine. Right around May, we reported back to the office, and around June, a new directive put us, CNMI, at a vulnerability level blue that would allow for the opening of additional businesses and with limited restrictions on quarantine measures. Up to July, the CNMI has not changed its status. I know there are 2 recent reported cases of COVID-19 just this week alone. We'll have to look into that status if it should increase its level. Next slide, please. And so this is the organizational structure for the highway branch. As you can see, I'm way down at the list there. And then we have Lauren. She oversees federal funds. Stacy oversees the administrative and the local transactions. And then we have Oscar, who prepares the vendor contracts. We have the inspectors, Sevio Charglove. We have the senior highway inspector. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Jerome Sevilla, James Raises, and we're still vacant for 2 more slots there. Engineers, we have Isugani Salazar, Henry Bautista, Manolo Reyes, Elson Tadios, and the highway administrator, Lorraine Seman. Our TSD director here is Mr. Anthony Camacho. Next slide, please. The new norm upon returning was basically social distancing, the use of masks and gloves, sanitizers, and rubbing alcohol, limiting persons, meetings, cleaning and disinfecting common areas, sending sick people home, and basically avoiding sharing of office supplies. Next slide. We try and use technology to the best since our team returned to work. We have been communicating with other government and private entities through the use of video conferencing. This has been quite common for the highway branch. Next slide. As you can see, many of the projects are going through the necessary requirements prior to constructions, and that is what you are looking at right now. None of these projects were canceled, by the way. Go ahead and hit the next slide, please. All the construction activities continued. As we all know, construction is considered essential services. Time extensions for the affected projects that you had just recently seen, the addendums for submissions, extensions for bids and proposals, and we try to limit travel to inter-islands. Next slide. Route 34 was continuing operations during the island-wide quarantine. This company was doing construction and repair of the Cagman roadway All construction activities were considered essential, but still adhered to safety measures that include masks and gloves. The disadvantage of continuing construction for Route 34 were mostly attributed to the lack of materials, and some suppliers closed their businesses for the quarantine. Next slide. The cinema in general gauges the vulnerability level of COVID-19 impact. The highway branch follows through this level in determining work activities suitable for both our employees and contractors. As I had previously mentioned, we just recently had 2 cases. We don't know if we're going to be heating up to yellow. That has yet to be seen. Excuse me. Next slide, please. Additional measures were adhered to with respect to the governor's directive. DPW and the fire department went around all the businesses and government buildings posting the number of allowable persons or persons per room or space. Next slide. The bars and restaurants were allowed a 50% capacity, and likewise, the highway branch office operates at that same level. Next slide. Many areas are still closed. As a result, tourist hotspots or attraction areas have not opened, but highways are still able to do infrastructure-related activities in these areas. We'll go to the next slide, please. The CNMI, in order to protect the health of the Commonwealth residents, will be implementing a revised COVID-19 assessment criteria. This change is due to the rise in COVID-19 cases in Guam, the US mainland, and other areas around the Marianas. The SARA Alert symptom monitoring system, the Department of Public Safety will conduct random quarantine compliance checks on all individuals registered in the SARA Alert symptom monitoring system, and exercising self-quarantine. If the individual is found to be not in compliance with the CNMI entry requirements, then the individual will be quarantined for a 14 consecutive day period in a manner prescribed by CHCC at the CNMI COVID-19 Task Force designated quarantine isolation site at their own cost. That's about $400 a night. Next slide, please. The CNMI, in order to protect the health of Commonwealth residents, will be implementing a revised COVID-19 assessment criteria. This change is due to the rise of COVID-19 cases in Guam, the US mainland, and other areas around the Marianas. SARA Alert allows CNMI public health representatives to enroll and follow up with individuals at risk of developing a COVID-19 infection. Enrolled individuals can report daily on any symptoms they are having to reduce transmissions and exposure in our community. If you are non-responsive or report any symptoms, a CNMI health representative will contact you and provide further instructions. Next slide, please. The CNMI, in order to protect the health of Commonwealth residents, will be implementing Again, the CNMI, in order to protect the health of Commonwealth residents, will be implementing a revised COVID-19 assessment criteria. This change is due to the rise in COVID-19 cases in Guam, the US mainland, and other areas around the Marianas. Next slide, please. The SARA Alert allows CNMI public health representatives to enroll and follow up with individuals at risk of developing a COVID-19 infection. I believe there is a $500 penalty and brought to the CNMI government-approved quarantine isolation. Next slide, please. And these are flyers on the COVID-19 for the Marianas. And last slide, Molly. And more flyers again for the Sinamay. And that should conclude my presentation for the Sinamay. Thank you, Molly.
You're welcome.
Okay, and with that, we're gonna go ahead and go on to Federico.
Yes.
Okay, Federico, if you are ready to begin, you may go ahead and begin.
Anna, you can unmute yourself, and Sulma also.
Yes, yes, I did.
Sulma, would you like to? I'm gonna put enter as a panelist, so you will be able to put your camera if you would like to. Okay, go ahead, Anna.
Hello. Hi, greetings to all. On behalf of the Puerto Rico Highway and Transportation Authority, thanks to Federal Highway and Puerto Rico PRLTAP for putting this peer exchange together. I hope everybody is good and in health as well as your loved ones. I'm gonna leave Sulma with the presentation. Go ahead, Sulma.
We can hear you, Sulma, now, I think. No. No, we can hear you. We can't. Okay. Not yet. Try to mute and unmute yourself again in the system. Try to talk right now. No, we're not able to hear you. Oh, let me see.
I'm sorry, I use a speaker and
Now.
sometimes it does this to me.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, and now, can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I cannot hear you right now.
Okay.
Just a sec. Okay. Can you hear me now, Irmali?
Yes, we can.
Oh my God, what is happening? Okay, okay. I'm going
I can hear
now.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mali.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And on behalf of PRSTA, we prepared this presentation about the impacts of COVID-19 on PRSTA, mainly on our operations. Next slide. We are briefly giving a brief information about the impacts to our construction works, our operations and administration works during this COVID pandemic. Next. On March 16, our governor gave a executive order, and all operations in the government halted, including our construction projects. On that time, we, the PRSTA, prepared and began working remotely for the construction sector. What we did was that we reviewed current process and protocols for to keep the construction area active, we reviewed the certifications for payment process and extra work and change order process in order to move those pay items and certifications that were in place before the lockout. PRLTAP began working its finance area and some executive areas to allow the agency to be prepared for when the opening came. Construction area and contractors submitted and prepared documents that were worked via email and digitally signed, so that when not everything was stopped by the time that the construction began. On May 11, the governor allowed construction works to begin. It was like the first phase going out of the COVID lockout. Puerto Rico had also some areas that were closed, like the commerce and industries. But by that time, construction contracts were required to extend a time extension of 56 days. It was across all of our construction projects. Next, please. For construction projects, the protocol for employees were implemented, where they had to wear masks at all times, and the temperature measures at the beginning of the work. Next, please. Regarding the operation impacts to the agency, is like most of the governmental agencies also. Telework was implemented, and since that beginning of the COVID pandemic hold, works were PRLTAP continue working remotely by doing telework. Equipment, laptops were given to employees. IT connections, everything was prepared so that they kept working remotely, and meetings were being held via Zoom, via Google Meet, via Microsoft Teams. Documents and email submittals we used SharePoints and clouds. Also, like construction projects, time extension for consultant services and designers were needed to be extended. Those contracts needed to be extended. By the time of opening the working area, employees are going back to the office, but on alternate days, and not every employee is going reporting to the office. Some employees are still working telework now these days that the lockout has been lifted. Next, please. Buildings, also facilities, other than the construction areas, also were clean and sanitized. So personal protective equipment was also supplied to employees. All the offices, everyone has their supplies. and temperature measures are taken in the facilities every time. Also, COVID tests were performed to employees before going back to the offices. And the agency had a protocol that is still currently under use. And day by day going back to somewhat normal conditions. I think that's it. Yes. Thank you for attention, and be safe.
Thank you, Zuma.
Thank you again, Zuma. And Molly, if we're ready here, we're gonna go ahead and get Guam to present.
I cannot hear you.
Okay.
Hello, Zuma?
Okay.
Molly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
We
okay.
have USBI.
Okay, and we'll get Guam towards the end.
Let me start here. I think for USBI we have a Nelson Patty. You can unmute yourself. I will put you as a panelist if you want to add your camera, and also Jomo. Panelist. Okay. Okay. Nelson, you're unmuted. Can you hear
Yes,
us?
thank you.
Okay.
Good. Let's see if I can do it. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, wrong camera. How did I get that?
We're seeing something, but I think
Front camera, I think is what we need. Good. All right, I think this is better. All right, good. Good afternoon, everyone. And yes, I just want to, I'll keep this short as well. Again, it's a pleasure to be talking with all of you again. It's been quite some time. A lot of things have happened. Of course, we're all dealing with this global pandemic, trying to make the best of it. There is a little bit of good news that I think is a result of this peer exchange. And I think you all knew that Jomo, myself, and Ms. Callender, we went to Congress back in February. And right now there's a bill floating around that actually passed the House that is going to basically increase our funding across the board somewhere around 40 to 50% for all of us. So it's something that I'm proud of, and glad that we all experiencing the potential benefit from working together. And with that being said, I'll allow Peter to go ahead and give a COVID update. Thank you.
I think Peter is with Jomo.
Yes, yes, he is.
You are unmuted, Jomo. Peter, can you hear us? Let me add Peter. We're not hearing you, Peter or Jomo.
Let me see what's going on with that.
We see you, Jomo, but we can hear you. Can't.
Did you unmute Jomo in the top right? Not sure.
Okay.
Jamal, can you hear us? Nod? Yes? Okay.
Yes, I think it's maybe you will need some headsets.
Um,
Mm, Okay, you unmute yourself. Okay, let me see. So let's give them a couple of minutes. Everett or Midalia, if you want to say anything, just in the time that we have USBI. Some couple of things until we get them back in for the audio. For those of you that are connected in a room, if you can send me an email later on with the names of the officials that were in the meeting, just for our record. I think we're hearing somebody. Let me see.
yeah, this is Commissioner Petty. I think we're in the same building. Peter should be coming down to my office, and
Okay.
then he'll be able to do it from there.
Okay. Great. So anyone that is in a group hearing this presentation, please send me the list of names that were connected, so we can have them for our record and also for the certificates that we'll be sending out. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, he's coming right now. I can hear him, so I'll let him sit to my desk, and we'll be able to continue. Come on, Pete. Sit. It's on this screen, so. Yeah. All right, you're on, so you can speak.
Hi, Peter.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, begin.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a good example of the kind of challenges that we are facing with this pandemic. Welcome. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. This is the United States Virgin Islands Territorial Peer Exchange COVID presentation. We can move to the next slide. Okay, this is their key staff. These are the members that participated in the last Territorial Peer Exchange, with the addition of Ruben Jennings, who is new to our staff since the last peer exchange. We have myself, Peter Gajewski, Design Program Manager, John Paul David, Construction Program Manager, Jomo McLean, he's a Program Manager, Tessa Hart, Administrative Services Director, Ruben Jennings, Deputy Commissioner, Administration, Camille Callender, Chief of Staff, and Nelson Petty, Commissioner. Next slide, please. So these are shows the different stages that we have with regard to our level of this would be, I guess, the level of kind of
State of emergency.
The state of emergency and the different phases that we have. Right now, we are in the open door phase, which began June 1st. Okay, next slide. Here's a description of some of the measures and restrictions that have been enacted.
Since the open doors.
Yeah, since the open door phase. We have residents from hotspot states are required to take tests and have a negative result before arriving to the territory, or required to quarantine. Bars throughout the territory have been closed. Beaches are closed at 4 p.m. on weekends and holidays, and restrictions on gatherings. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so our department, this is our Department of Health website. We've been closely monitoring the situation. You could find more information on their website. Yeah, including all the statistics and what the government is doing in response to the pandemic. Next slide. So we have masks are required in public, including all offices, all stores, and anywhere in public indoors required to wear masks, or service will be refused. Next slide. These are our statistics, our daily statistics of new cases. We've been relatively flat since the beginning of the pandemic in March. Recently, we have seen a spike in cases. This is particularly on the island of St. Croix. This is largely due to the lime tree refinery facility that we have. They have a lot of workers, off-island workers, that are stationed there, and there's a lot of travel. So they have recently seen a large increase in number of cases. I believe we're at 217 positive results, and most of those are very recent. I think we're dealing with just over 100 active cases currently. All these statistics can be found at our Department of Health website. Next slide. It's kind of some additional statistics showing exactly the location of where we have cases throughout the territory. Next slide. Okay, there's some of the impacts and challenges that we are facing and how we are dealing with them. DPW offices remained open throughout the entire pandemic. We have the flexibility for non-essential workers to work from home, flexible work schedules. We've been using Microsoft Teams and other online platforms for meetings, both internally and externally. There's been a limit on inter-island travel, making it somewhat difficult to maintain irregular operations. We typically rely on having to travel between islands. As far as construction activities go, construction was deemed an essential activity, and all of our projects have remained active. We are following, the latest OSHA, CDC, and Department of Health guidelines with regard to social distancing, wearing masks. This, of course, has made things difficult here, particularly due to the hot weather. It can be difficult to breathe when wearing a mask, and also there are activities like pouring concrete and other activities where it's very difficult to practice social distancing, where we're required to work in very close quarters. So that has been less than ideal. One thing that we know we're highly dependent on tourism, and there's been a big reduction, particularly with the cruise ships on during season, on peak days, we can have as many as 20, 25,000 visitors to the island, which creates a lot more traffic, vehicular and pedestrian. We make the increase in traffic makes it more difficult to perform. Now we've had the opportunity to take advantage of the reduction in tourism and the reduction in traffic to try to accelerate some of the other activities that we had to make provisions for traffic and for the tourists. Also, logistics and supply chain, have seen a lot of challenges. We receive a lot of our materials from Puerto Rico and Florida. Shipments from those locations have been impacted, which have impacted some of our project schedules. With regard to procurement, we have several projects right now, mostly in design, not with federal highway funding, but with a lot of our other emergency funding that we've had from other agencies such as FEMA, HUD, and we have a lot of our projects are currently in procurement right now, and we're having some challenges with regard to coordinating with off-island contractors and consultants through the procurement process. Typically, we would have site visits available, we have pre-proposal meetings. All this has to be done on an online format, and site visits are very limited to personnel, which would only be already on island. So it makes it difficult for the offerers to prepare proposals given these conditions. Also, we depend a lot on Eastern federal lands for project delivery. They have maintained a presence with their construction staff, and we continue to move forward on the projects that they are managing in construction. But with regard to design, the staff in Virginia is working from home and they're limited on travel. So, we currently have some two large design build projects that are in the procurement phase, and the pandemic has certainly, caused some challenges as far as coordinating the procurement of those projects. Next slide. It's a project highlight. I think this kind of gives a good picture of what we're dealing with here in the territory. This is Main Street on St. Thomas. This is one of our featured projects that we have, one of the larger projects that we have. This project was designed and is being administered but through DPW. Originally, this project had a lot of work restrictions. Most of the work was to be performed at night, and the contractors had to maintain access to all businesses during the daytime hours for tourism in order for them to remain open. Now, given the cruise ships, there's no cruise ships and very limited overnight tourists. Many of the stores have been closed. Some have been open, but there's very minimal traffic. So the contractors have been able to work during the day and accelerate some of the activities which were previously done only at night. A lot of these are slow, labor-intensive activities that include an installation of cobblestone and stone sidewalks. They would have to work at night and then demobilize and provide access using steel plates, barricades, barriers, and other measures, and those would have to be put up and taken down every day. Now, with the current conditions, they're able to accelerate some of those activities and work. Yeah. So that has been, and this kind of gives you an idea on normal day during season, the street would be filled with people, filled with vehicles, and this kind of shows, our economy is highly dependent on tourism. So this has been a very big impact on us, but certain activities, like construction, now the economy is going to rely a lot more heavily on that, and we're able to move forward in some areas due to the restrictions that are in place. I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Okay. Peter, thank you. U.S. Virgin Island, thank you, Peter. And Molly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, and our final presenter will be Guam.
No, Ken. At this moment, I think Gang won't be today presenting. If that's not correct, please you can unmute yourself if there's a representative from Guam. If not, we can pass to the question and answer session. Okay. We are now at the question and answer session. I think, Ken, that we can have Migdalia and maybe Everett can help us in the question and answer session. All the attendees are available to unmute themselves. So if you have any questions, comments, or any other information you would like to share, please, you will be able to unmute yourself. We only ask that you mute again as soon as you finish your speaking, so we don't have any feedback. Thank you. Everett, I see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Are you able to?
Yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting to hit the unmute. My apologies.
Okay,
Yeah,
now we
again,
can.
this is the part of, yeah, good. So this is the part of the session in which we just basically open it up to everyone. Let me just first say thank you to all the territories for bringing us up to speed, up to date on where they are as far as COVID-19 and this pandemic and how it's affected your day-to-day operations. Again, this is the part of the session in which each of you or any of you can ask each other how your agency or how other agencies have been dealing with specific issues, specific processes or procedures or anything of that nature. I'll leave it at that. And then just echo what Amon said, let's try to do this in an organized fashion in which we're not speaking over each other.
Yes, I see that. So there are some questions also in the chat from Migdal. How are they thinking on dealing with those claims? That's a question for the territories. Anyone who wants to start answering can unmute themselves. If anyone is having trouble just unmuting themselves, you can raise the hand to raise the hand and I'll unmute you if you have any. Okay, I see that Carlos Figueroa. I think you will be receiving a pin, an audio pin, so you can unmute your phone, Carlos.
It was a mistake, Imali. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
Mali, can I make a question?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
It's a question to all the territories representatives. Do you have any increase in vehicle crashes or pedestrian crashes due to speeding? That since there are a lot of less vehicles on the highways and streets. I just want to know if there was an increase in crashes or the severity in any of the locations. Thank you. It's open to anyone.
Now, Fiaga, did you hear the question from Dr. Colucci? It's if there's any increase in crashes or pedestrian fatalities at this
For American
time?
Samoa, we have had no increase in crashes whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Any other territory? Puerto Rico?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Peter or Jomo from USBI or Nelson Petty? From American Samoa, I think. No.
Again, American Samoa, no
Okay.
increase in crashes.
Okay, I'm sorry. From Mariana Islands, I'm sorry. Okay. Dr. Colucci, is that okay with your question?
Well, really, I think it depends. I know, based on some evidence that we had, that since there were no vehicles, there was no congestion in many of our segments that were straight segments. It appears that some drivers used to drive faster before the curfew, and the severity of some of the crashes increased from serious to fatality. But there were a few of them, not many, but it was attributed to higher speeds due to the lack of congestion or traffic flow. Then that's the only point I wanted to see if there was a trend similar, or at least some random cases in your territories. In Mali, thank you very much. That is what I was expecting from them as well.
I think from
Yes.
USBI, they were
Mali, I'm
telling
here,
something.
Juan Carlos.
Yes, this is USPI, Peter Gajewski, just in response to Dr. Colucci's question regarding any impact or increase in vehicular accidents or severity. I mean, we would have to take a look at the police reports, but you know, there's certainly been traffic. There has been some accidents,
Right.
including some injury and fatalities since the beginning of the pandemic.
Right. We haven't had any in any work zones, but I think maybe because of the reduction in traffic, there's been some increase in some speeds. So that might have led to some, especially on St. Thomas, some additional accidents because of high rates of speed, because the roads are empty, less congested. I know there's been fatalities up as recent as last week and a half ago. There was a fatality on Route 38, but nothing at any of the work zones.
Can I add something, Irmali? It's Juan Carlos.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Oh, good afternoon and good morning to everyone, depending of where you are. It's Juan Carlos Rivera from Federal Highway, Puerto Rico. I want to add something about the fatalities here in the island. Based in our numbers today, we have less fatalities from the two previous years. But it's very interesting that the 30% of the fatalities are pedestrian. When, as Colucci say, we have a lockdown and we have curfew, so we expect less people walking our street, and the 30% of our fatalities are pedestrians. So I was expecting a smaller number of fatalities by this type of month, especially because everyone was in their homes around 1.5 months here in Puerto Rico, but the numbers are very similar to the previous year, and 30% of pedestrians is something that we need to look about it. Thank you, Irmali.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. I also have a question for USBI here. It says to Peter from USBI. Yes,
Before
yes.
going to the other question, let me compliment Juan Carlos. Uh, that is what we need to look at, at least in the different jurisdictions. Puerto Rico consistently have had between 30 to 34% of the total fatalities associated with pedestrians, as compared to the United States, the mainland, that the fatalities that was in the 3 years ago when they increased to 16 to 17%, and was the highest number that they had as compared to 1990. What we have noticed is that we have reduced every other category of crashes, but the particularly the pedestrians, are still very, very high. And there are many reasons for that. We have jaywalking. We have that many of our highways, we have 3 lanes, 4 lanes, even in urbanized areas. But the pedestrian not necessarily perceive when a vehicle is coming faster than the particular posted speed limit. And my point was that if we don't have any traffic, then if we don't have vehicular traffic, the increase in speed in vehicular traffic as compared with our traditional pedestrian rate that we have had in the years is going to be troublesome because the pedestrians still walk. I mean, and the other thing I wanted to point out is that there was a report done by Federal Highway and addressing Hispanics and other ethnic groups in the United States, and they showed that there was a trend, particularly in our case. I mean, talking about the issue of the Puerto Ricans, and there are also other groups, other ethnic groups, but it was tied to the culture associated with jaywalking, and like it or not, there was an issue associated with alcohol, therefore consuming alcohol. Again, that study was 2004, 2005, but I thought that I wanted to bring to your attention that the pedestrian vehicle crashes might be more severe or might increase due to the higher speeds, even though definitely we have reduced all our fatalities, all categories during this 3.5 or close to 4 months period. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Colucci. Yes, thank you, Dr. Colucci. I have a question, Peter from USBI. Are you reducing contract time on projects with significant flexibility in the MOT? You can unmute yourself, Peter or Nelson Petty.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes. Are you reducing contract time on projects with significant flexibility in the MOT?
No, we have not, because there still are other challenges that have slowed down construction in some of the areas. I anticipate that we're probably going to have to do some time extensions, hopefully some no-cost time extensions for other activities. I'm not even sure if those activities were in the critical path or not. I guess that, and it's not really MOT related. It was more as far as night restrictions and yeah. So that would have to be
Supply issues.
Yeah, supply issues and other things. So that would have to be more closely analyzed to see, what impact that would have. But no, we certainly haven't shortened any of our schedules or taken a credit for any of the accelerated activities.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I hope that we answered the question for the participant. Is any other question for the territories? Everett or Migdalia, would you like to enter and do any final comments?
Yeah, sure. So I'm guessing, Amali, there's nothing else in the chat pod as far as any other questions. Just want to make sure.
Okay, yes. Now, Migdalia.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Migdalia Carrion from the Federal Highway Puerto Rico Division. I just want to say thank you for the wonderful presentations that we have seen today. Unfortunately, time has run out, but we do have tomorrow and Thursday very good topics. We will be talking about ER program and also resiliency. So we hope that you come back tomorrow to hear more about these other topics. I just want to say thank you for all the presenters and everyone that participated on this on today's meeting. With that, Everett, I don't know if you want to close out the meeting.
Yeah, sure. But thank you, Migdalia. Let me say thank you to everyone else. Again, I just echo what Migdalia just said. Thank you to everyone for participating today. I think we had a great conversation, discussion. As Migdalia said, tomorrow will be even better. We're going to be jumping over to the topic of emergency relief program. So with that, I say thank you again, and thank you again to Puerto Rico LTAP, Maya, for putting this all together. We just couldn't have done this without you. All right. So good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. This is Ben Colucci.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Well done.
Camera and it's personal computer wasn't working, so let's see.